Fact or fiction, Justin, Ozempic is a viable option and you should try it for fat loss.
No, I don't think it's a viable option, and I do not think you should try it unless you are taking it for the reasons that are mentioned on the label.
Heck yeah, agreed, 100%. I don't like the idea of taking medication to do something that you can do on your
Exactly.
own.
It's an easy way out.
Yep. And also, what Ozempic is doing, there are natural ways that you can do the same thing. Yerba mate is one of the ways that you could do
Yep.
that. And also, it's blown up. And who the hell wants to be an early adopter with medication that could have long-term risks and side effects to
No
it?
one knows anything yet about
Yeah,
these
exactly.
long-term.
So yeah, I'm gonna say no on that one. Welcome to Running Free, our second episode under the new banner. I'm Jesse Karajat.
You got Justin Maziarz here again. Thank you, sir, for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man. You were about to comment on my shirt, and I was sitting here when I put it on, like, I hope Justin notices. I hope Justin notices.
Dude, I'm very jealous, honestly. I feel like that should be something we attack the audience with together.
Yeah, and if you're listening and not watching, it says, "I lift because my wife is hot." And that is a fact. That is one of a couple reasons. I got to keep up. Appropriate for this episode, I thought, because yet to be titled, but I'm kicking around fitness fads, fact or fiction, bunch of Fs. What is that? Is that a? I always mess this up. Is that an alliteration or an?
It is an alliteration. I always get alliteration and onomatopoeias mixed up. I think I just like saying onomatopoeia. So,
what is an onomatopoeia?
Jesse, that's a great. Oh, it's when you bring life to an inanimate object.
Oh, God.
I asked me an example. I couldn't give you one, but I was just gonna say, I remember the definition.
Onomatopoeia. All right. Well, that was an alliteration. Fitness fads, fact or fiction. What we're going to focus on. There's always, like, I feel like with fitness, man, there's like tried and true meat and potatoes things that are science backed that have worked and will always work. But there's always some fad, right? And some fads stick, some come and go. And I thought it'd be awesome with our backgrounds, right? Like we both have had certifications in personal training and health coaching. Personally, I've tried every friggin' fitness fad under the sun, so I can speak to what works and what doesn't. But we thought it'd be awesome to kind of like unpack some of the kind of hot right now, faddish type fitness conversations or trends, and then just give our take asking the question, is it fact or fiction? And that's where we're going to go for this episode.
Let's go.
Before I do, I have an anecdote for you. It's like so loosely tied to fitness, but like it is fitness related. So I haven't told you this, Justin, but you know, I got a Ford Lightning.
Oh yeah, the truck. Yeah,
So I got a Ford Lightning. I've wanted a pickup truck for my entire life, and I got a Lightning. It's like my baby. But you know this about me. Like if I have anyone in my life, I wouldn't even say a friend, even like an acquaintance that needs a favor. When this sounds so self-promoting, but like when I get asked, I don't even think about it, and I'm just like, yeah, you could do that. So I have a friend out here in Colorado that had a trailer down in Colorado Springs, which is like 2 hours from where I am. And I overheard her on the phone. She sounded really upset because this person holding the trailer said, "You got to get this out of here by Saturday." And I felt so bad. I was like, "You could take my truck. Just take my truck."
You can have it.
Yeah. And then when she's like, "Thank you."
Anything else?
When she left, I was like, shit. So
what did I do?
Well, part of the complications in an electric vehicle is like, if you're going to drive that far and also tow something heavy, you're already losing the battery, you're towing something. So all these things cross my mind. Like, I hope she knows, like she has to plot out. I hope she knows how to pull a damn trailer. So anyway, I'll cut to the point. When she showed up to take the truck, I had like all these like nerves, but I wasn't going to back out of it. And she showed up with this gentleman who I had never met in my life that was going to be driving the truck.
That's a little bit scary.
Right. And like, so think about like the handoff. We talked about like dysregulation. I was so dysregulated because in my mind, I'm like, okay, I have to like make sure they understand this and this and this and this. But this dude was such a chatty Cathy, and he had like an awkward communication style. So he was just like, bah, 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 bah. So like, I was so like, ugh. So I wind up putting my phone on the hood of the truck, and they drove off, and I didn't even realize it. I promise. I promise this will come back to fitness. I promise.
I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, dude. So they drove off. I didn't even know because I went back into a busy house with kids and chaos.
Naturally.
And we're standing there, and then Meg on her iPhone gets like this like boot, boot, like this crazy sound, and it was detecting a crash on my phone. And we thought,
Oh
but
my
our
gosh.
first thought, like we both went, "Holy shit! They
Yeah,
crashed the
they
truck.
cracked the truck.
They crashed the truck." And then like 10 seconds later, I was like, "Where's my phone?" dude. So, dude, we pick up her phone and we look at that, like, find my whatever,
Yeah.
find my phone, and I see it. So it's still detected, and it's in the middle of I-25, which
Oh,
is like
perfect.
the.
Just where you wanted it.
Oh, well, I was just glad it was still, So I jump in the car, I follow it, and I'm like going down this frontage road that like runs alongside 25. And by the way, the speed limit on I-25 is 75. And we all know people drive 10 or 15 over.
Oh,
So,
minimum.
dude, as I'm pulling up, I'm getting closer to the little, like, the little blinking dot.
Smell it.
And I'm like, there's no way this phone survives. Like, there's no way. So I literally park and I hop over like a guardrail, like shifting through all these weeds. And I'm leaning over like the guardrail that's next to the shoulder of this road with like trailers flying by.
Flying by you.
Dude, and I'm sitting there and I look over and I see this little black rectangle in the middle of I-25. And in I-25, they just put in these express lanes. So the way it goes is, if you picture looking down, express lane is to the left. Those dudes are going like 100.
Oh, easy. Easy. Yeah.
And then you have two solid lines. And my phone was sitting in the middle of the two solid lines, like seemingly unscathed, right? And every time a car flew by, it would like go from like the wind. And it's like moving ever so closer to the white lines.
Oh
And
my
I'm sitting
God.
there and I had like 30 seconds to digest this. I'm like, no way. Did you ever see, I was thinking, did you ever see Saw?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
With that
Jigsaw.
little weird little, what is
A
it? Like,
little bike.
yeah. And he like gives these like awful, like life or death
I
propositions.
love playing games.
Like this Saw guy came into my head like, I've taken your electronic device and I've placed it in the middle of an interstate where cars drive 85.
You have a
Choose.
choice.
Choose life or death to save
I don't
your
want
technology.
that.
But dude, within like 30 seconds of me seeing it, processing it, of course, because I'm a goofball, like having that humor in my head, I was
Yeah,
like,
you have
no
to,
way,
yeah.
this is a proposition for me. This
This is
phone.
real life. This is happening
Real
today.
life. And it's 1100. It's an iPhone 15 Pro Max. I don't even know if
Of
that's the new
course.
one. It was like $1,100. So, dude, within 15 seconds, like an opening happened, and I hopped the guardrail and did like my NFL cone drill. Like I sprinted out,
Picture
grabbed
this.
it. Dude,
Heismaning civics on the way.
dude, that would have been nails. If like in the middle of it, like popped the Heisman and popped over. But dude, like the phone, I swear to God, like I got this case. It's one of those ones like impulse buy at Target. It's like some stupid $10 case. Dude,
Oh yeah.
I don't know how, not a
Hey,
scratch
Dad.
on it. But my neighbor, he's like, dude, what if you like pulled a hammy like in the middle of the, or like just fell over?
Jesse lost his phone and his life.
Yeah, I could see the news. Man dies rescuing iPhone or something.
He was doing some weird Heisman type move as he pulled his hamstring and got struck by a Mack truck.
You know what? I would die with honor. If that was- But yeah, man, no. Wow, here's a hey, let's tie that back to fitness. But it didn't even occur to me. I was like, thank God I was able-bodied
Yeah.
to like even do so. Because imagine someone that's like not fit and has like real tight muscles and they pop something. Because these cars, dude, I swear to God, even when I was
Oh, they're
running.
coming a lot
I
faster
was
than you
looking
think.
and I was like, that thing was a lot farther away 1 second ago.
Oh,
So-
he's right in front of me now.
yeah. And, like, God bless my wife. She's so funny. She brings everything back to God, which we all should do. But I got
Absolutely.
home and I was like, look at this. And she goes, such a God thing. And I was like, no, I'm just retarded. Like, I'm pretty.
And Jesse hasn't taken that shirt off since.
Exactly. I wear it all the time. Right. But yeah, no, I think God was like, Jesse, this is a test. You don't need that phone. And I was like, boop. Yes, I
Watch
do.
this, God.
Yeah.
Got a trick up my sleeve for you.
All right, man. I digress. So I've been like wanting to share that story with you.
Yeah,
So I
that's the
figured I
best
just
story I've heard in a long time. I'm so glad that you
my
shared
phone.
that.
So shout out to I don't know the brand of that case, but if you're buying a phone case at Target, you don't need a $67 OtterBox. You can just get something basic. But all right, so let's get into the fads, man. And quick caveat to set it up. When we're talking about fitness, I want this to be all encompassing, right? Like, so all of our, Justin and I, we talked about this a little bit offline. Our answers are not going to be like, hey, does this make us look good? Is this aesthetics? It's like, look at it through the lens of lifespan, mental health, physical health. I think that's a healthy way to kind of frame this when we go into the answers. And I'm going to start with you, Justin, and we're going to go through, I have 5 factor fictions, and we'll talk through each one. And then I have a little rapid fire at the end. But the first one, and I think this is important. I wanted to lead with this too. But the first one, ready? Factor fiction. You have to lift weights to be truly fit and healthy. Fact or fiction?
I want to say off the bat, I mean, because I'm me, fact, but understanding that not every fitness, specialty requires lifting weights. But I will say, I believe resistance training is necessary in any kind of fitness in order to cross those 3 things that you had mentioned off the list, Jesse, from, longevity to mental health and physical health. I do think it is. Yes, I think that is a fact that you do have to do some sort of resistance training or weightlifting to be truly fit and healthy, according to Justin.
Yeah. I'm going to say fact as well. I think that if anyone argues with the idea that having muscle mass is not healthy, is wrong. I think from a confidence, mental health kind of angle, I think body composition is really important. So I think that if you look good and you feel attractive for your spouse, right? If you feel attractive when you put on your clothes and you go out in public, you have confidence. So I think lifting weights, no one would argue with, that's how you gain muscle mass. And that doesn't mean you need to be jacked or anything. I mean, if you look at Justin and I here, like frame by frame, you're making me a little insecure. I mean, I'm fit.
Yeah, that's absurd, dude.
But you're a bigger guy, and a lot of that can be genetics. We probably focus on the same type of lifting routine with different results. But I think from a mental health, emotional health, I think you should be focusing on body composition, which is another way to say, how do you look? And what is your ratio between muscle mass to body fat? So I think that helps. I think, Peter Attia, The Drive, really, really great podcast. If anyone hasn't listened to it, just amazing mind around all things fitness. He wrote a book called Lifespan. It's fantastic. But he talks about the importance of bone density, especially as you age, because when you lift weights the right way, you're actually strengthening your bones. And when
you don't think about on the surface at all. You just think muscle.
Right. It's not. So bone density is going to help you with mobility as you age. It's going to help with injury prevention as you age. You don't want to be the person that can't carry groceries up the stairs and falls down and breaks a bone that you didn't have to break. But unfortunately, by the time you get to that point, you have to have been focusing on strength and muscle to get to that point where your bones are able to. And then there's a lot of studies that talk about how literally having more muscle mass, less body fat, all of the things that it does for inflammation, for your organs, all of it leading up to what I think is the most important thing is lifespan. What the hell is the point of crushing yourself and doing all these crazy fitness fads, not taking care of your body, and maybe you look good for a shorter period of time, but you're just wrecking your life long term, because we all want to live.
What cost are you doing that? Yeah.
Right. It's quality of life and lifespan. And there's different ways when people think lifting weights. I think the cliche is bro in gym grunting. There's different ways to do it. I mean, you can incorporate lifting weights into HIIT. There's, all sorts of different ways to do it. There's Pilates, there's even yoga. Sometimes these classes, they're not just doing hot yoga, they're incorporating weights and stuff. So I think personally, it is a fact that you have to lift weights to be truly healthy, because truly means, again, incorporating all 3. And that's just part of my take on it.
100%, and I agree entirely. And what I'm doing now is a result of what I've done for the past 15 years, and have figured out I have seen the best results. And when I say results, I mean mentally, physically, obviously, and strength-wise too, but without injury, has been by going back to the basics, man. It's been going back to what we know works, the hard stuff, and not overcomplicating it. So my lifts, if I try to get to the gym Monday through Friday, obviously schedules can be impacted with work, kids and stuff. So my splits do change if I'm not there the 5 days out of the week, but I'm probably doing, the total sets per muscle group, maybe 10, 3 to 4 of 12 reps and 3 to 4 sets of each exercise, depending on what it is. But I mean, previously it was all right, I'm going to do a set of incline press, and then I'm going to go right into a standing set of bicep curls, and then I'm going to go right into jump rope for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to go hit the assault bike,
That's too
and then I'm going to
much.
come back and try and do it again, and then wonder why I'm gassed and I have tendonitis in 2 weeks. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like we try and like associate doing more and overcomplicating things with getting more and better results. When like in my experience, at least I'll say it's the opposite. I've tried the steroid route over the years. I abused that to a T when I was trying to figure my life out, thinking that wasn't a problem. And like even when I was as big and stupid looking as I was off of that, like it still wasn't enough for me. But understanding how I feel now compared to when I felt then, and it's just like, all right, this is what I think my body wants and needs, is that less is more mentality of, and
Yeah.
by no means am I saying less is more to try and make my workouts easy. I think you know my workouts, Jess. I like to beat the hell out of myself like you do.
Yep.
Um, but not thinking that I have to be in the gym for 3.5 hours a day in order to up my bench by 10 pounds in a couple months. You know what I mean?
Look, 1 in 10 Americans today struggle with alcohol use disorder, and I was one of them. Did you know that there is a safe, science backed daily pill that you can take to drink less or even quit alcohol for good? It's called naltrexone, a doctor prescribed medication that you get online, and our sponsor, Or Health, is the nation's leading provider of naltrexone. To date, Or Health has helped over 35,000 people find freedom from alcohol, and I'm proudly one of them. To get started, text STRENGTH to 710-710. Again, that's STRENGTH to 710-710 and get started on your journey to finally find freedom from alcohol. Yeah, yeah. There's a guy named Eric Helms who came up with this muscle and nutrition pyramid method, and they're two separate pyramids. And what he does is, in his opinion, and he's a very smart guy, well researched, he takes the most important aspect of training and puts it on the bottom, the foundation of the triangle, and then he incorporates the other aspects, things like supplementation,
Yeah.
volume, intensity. But all that to say, the bottom of that triangle in his strength and muscle pyramid, I think that's what it's called, is adherence,
Okay.
which is another way to say consistency.
That part.
Don't commit to a program that's going to burn you out. And I think more importantly, and this is where I've landed, like you should like look forward to working out. Like for
Yeah.
me, it's like in some days it's the only hour or so that I have where it's just me. And you know, you have to block out your cell phone. Don't be checking Outlook because I've been there. Don't be working. But like if you're going to choose a program that you dread, you're going to burn out from it and then you're not
Oh
going to
yeah.
stick to it. And if you don't stick to it, most programs are designed to build on themselves, to change your
100%.
body composition and make you look better, feel better, get stronger. So I'm with you, man. Like I've done all of the CrossFit type shit, the HIIT stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And within like 3-4 weeks, I'm burned out. I'm like, I don't feel like working out today. And you don't want to dread lifting. It can be
No.
hard in the container of the workout without being psychotic and burning you out.
Exactly. And that's where that fine line is, the struggle is identifying which side to be on. You know, there's a difference between challenging yourself in the gym and also setting yourself up for failure and injury.
Yeah,
But you think
injury.
you're doing the right thing, but it's just literally so much of everything that your body's just not going to react the way that you think it's going to.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, what do you weigh now?
218, I think.
You're 280, big boy. What were you at your largest when you were like, really leaning into the steroids and all that stuff?
I was 240 with abs and chest veins.
Got it. You look great now, man. You look
I
like
feel so much better, dude. Like
this is
I
the best.
feel like the way that God wants my body to feel, you know?
Yeah, I did an episode not too long ago about like kind of like what I do, especially for the summer. I weigh 185 right now. That's my goal for the summer. That's me coming down from like 195. But me, I mean, just high level. I strength train 4 times a week, so it's like Monday, Tuesday off, and then Thursday, Friday. I make sure that I do 3 sessions of steady state cardio, at least 35 minutes. I try each session. I try to land my heart like right around like zone 2. Sometimes it pushes up to zone 3. That's okay. And then I do 2 short 10-minute HIIT sessions, usually at the tail end of one of those strength training sessions. And within each one of those weightlifting sessions, it's always the same. It's like my lead move, which is a compound move, assuming I feel healthy. And that's a little bit lower on the reps. I don't like the whole, 5x5, lifting big weights anymore. I'm 40 years old. It's
Past that pay.
not too old, but it's not worth it. The return on investment is I'm in pain, right? it's not fun, but I always lead with a compound. And then I do 2, maybe 3 synergistic movements for that body part. Try to keep those more in that hypertrophy range, that like 8 to 12. I might do some like burnouts at the end just to really get like the muscle fibers incorporated. And then I'll kind of like rev up as I go and finish with something like a superset. And if it's a HIIT training session that day, that's how I really like send off my heart for the day so that I can burn more fat. But that is my fitness routine in a nutshell.
Well, your answer was a lot better than mine. Damn it. I also do cardio. I didn't say anything about cardio because I hate cardio, but I do
actually,
it.
let's jump into one of the questions. So I'm going to skip. I was going to do a different order, but I'm going to skip into this one then. Fact or fiction, Justin? High intensity interval training is far superior to steady state cardio.
In terms of, let's say the goal is fat loss, right? And I would say 100% HIIT is the bread and butter there, and that would be my recommendation moving forward. But it wouldn't just be HIIT all the time. I think cardio has to be treated the same as like you're training a muscle, right? Like you can't just continuously do the same thing and expect your body to continue to adapt. And the reason I'm saying that is I think steady state has its place. I do steady state. I do 3 days a week. I'll do on the incline on the treadmill after I lift for half an hour, hovering around zone 2, mostly staying in zone 1. And then I also finally started incorporating the assault bike.
I
really hate myself.
Torture.
But I really want to try and, take a page out of your book, Jess, in terms of making the HIIT and that more of a priority, because not only the physical benefits, but I also noticed HIIT, the mental and the endorphins and everything, not the rest of the day, but I'm on a high for a long time after that. And I mean, obviously one of the main benefits of exercise and everything is the endorphins and the feel good feelings that we all get. But again, they can be met with both high intensity and steady state, in my opinion. But I will say, if the goal is fat loss and we're looking to, make our biggest bang for the buck, then I would start with HIIT and then obviously, incorporate some sort of plan that phases in steady state. So it's not just continuously beating the shit out of your body and expecting that to go well.
I like it. I'm going to say fiction. I think they're both tools and they both need to be utilized. On the HIIT side of the fence, I agree with you 100%. If you have a specific goal and maybe it's seasonal and that goal is fat loss and body composition, I would lean that way and because I look at everything in fitness as like an investment. I think you get a greater ROI on fat loss using HIIT. So I might lean into HIIT, and that might be at the detriment of less steady state, or I just add more HIIT if I'm trying to lose fat. I'm doing that right now. I'm down 9 pounds in maybe 5 weeks, 6 weeks. But I didn't do much other than tweak my cardio. So I think, fat loss and also igniting your metabolism around the clock, you alluded to that. But like assuming you work hard enough, and some people, if you're not tracking your heart rate, that's a great way to gauge your effort, because there's perceived rate exertion, 1 to 10, how hard did you work? But a lot of times people will, it'll feel hard, but when you look at their heart rate, it's not in that zone 4, zone 5, which you want to touch zone 5 within a HIIT session, not for 12 minutes. I did a workout with a couple friends in my garage, and I looked at the dude's smartwatch afterwards. This dude was in zone 5 for 18 minutes in one workout, and he threw up.
He didn't puke?
He threw up. He was like, he was really not having a good time. And I was like, bro, I understand you want to keep up, but you got to self-regulate. But assuming you get your heart rate up into that zone 5, maybe for a couple minutes in a session, and I don't recommend more than 15 minutes for a HIIT session, but you're going to burn a lot of fat around the clock as a result of that. But on the steady state side, and again, for anyone who doesn't understand, steady state just means kind of hitting one effort level and one heart rate level and keeping it there for the duration of your session. For steady state, you have to incorporate that because there's mental health benefits to it. There's also things that are happening in your blood, in your body, in your organs that are healthy, anti-inflammation. And also it's effective for fat loss, assuming you use it at the right time of day, fasted on an empty stomach. But I think if you're looking at, again, the full frame here, lifespan, longevity, overall health, you got to bring in steady state. But if you're seasonality, trying to maybe lose some fat and do things like that, I think, they both have to be combined. That's where I'm at.
100%. Agreed entirely there, sir.
Moving to nutrition here. I'll go first. Fact or fiction, you need to track every calorie and macro to achieve your fitness goals. Fiction. Fiction. When I think about tracking, and I've done this, I've tracked calories, and I've tracked macros, MyFitnessPal back in the day. I think it's really helpful to do it if you've never done it,
Yes.
because it kind of like flexes those muscles in your brain to get used to being conscious and
Yeah.
intentional with your food choices. I also think, and this is my opinion, my hot take, everyone thinks they eat less calories in a day than they actually do. If you say, all right, for 2 weeks, and a lot of trainers will do this early on with their clients, they'll say, hey, let's track your food for a couple weeks just to get a
Yeah.
baseline. But if you track your food, you get in the habit of making good choices, and then you just get that baseline understanding of what your daily caloric intake is. From that foundation, from that baseline, you can make decisions to
Yep.
tweak your nutrition and your diet according to your goals. If you're really focused on like a strength training season, you want to get stronger, it's good to have
Yep.
excess calories versus your maintenance. But if you want to lose weight, I think it's really valuable to learn what that baseline is so that you can tweak your nutrition for your goals. So I think my reason I'm saying it's fiction is that shit gets exhausting. If every single meal you got to pop open a phone or open a journal, write stuff down, you'll start to resent the process. And then you might even just be like, you know what, forget it. This isn't worth it. But I think it's a great habit to build so you
Yeah.
can leave it behind and move towards where I'm at, which is more of, I think this is a term like intuitive eating.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
It's
just
exactly what
know,
it is.
like I know what I should be eating. I have these kind of go-to meals. I would even say 4 out of the 5 of the times that I eat every day, it's like pretty close to an identical meal. It's like
Yeah.
a
The same
go-to.
type of
It's
thing.
it's convenient, it's easy, but try it if you haven't, and then leave it behind because you're going to tire of it. Look, life can be hard and stressful sometimes. We all know that. But when it comes to supplements, why is it that nobody talks about stress and resilience? For me, I take the adaptogen stack from Momentous Supplements. It's a daily blend of ashwagandha, rhodiola, and L-theanine, all clinically backed to help you stay calm, focused, and resilient. I'm proudly partnered with Momentous Supplements because they are the industry's best. They don't cut corners. Everything's third-party tested, used by pro athletes, and high quality. Head to livemomentous.com and use code STRENGTH for 35% off your first order. Again, that's livemomentous.com, code word STRENGTH for 35% off your first order, and get started today.
Very, very quickly too. Similar to you, Jess, I used to be psycho with it years ago. I tried MyFitnessPal in the beginning, and then someone introduced me to My Macros Plus, and I ran with that thing. And dude, thousands upon hundreds of thousands of entries of everything. And then it got to the point where it was just like what you said. I'm sitting down to eat dinner with my family beforehand, and before I even take a bite of something, I'm pulling up my phone to check, and I'm like, "What? Hold on." So it can
Right.
quickly become, especially with brains like I'll say mine, obsessive, and can be, something that you essentially becomes an idol. But to your point, Jess, getting that baseline understanding of what you think you're eating versus what it actually is, it's very eye opening in both good and bad ways. But I mean, calories in versus calories out. We can sit
Yeah.
here and preach all we want, but you're not going to make any changes unless those numbers are differentiating where they need to. And
The
how
fact.
can you know if that's a fact or not unless you are, somehow getting a baseline idea as to what you're actually intaking each day. And then you get to a point like Jess, you just said you're at, which is a beautiful place to be where you're so in tune with your body that you know exactly what things are going to look like when they go in your body and when they're coming out and what that's going to do to you in the gym.
Yep.
And then, I mean, being so data oriented and driven in life and in fitness here, like it's not a bad thing. And it's going to continue to help, get to those goals and everything. But like everything with fitness, like everything with life, I think it's a balancing act, of understanding that the helpful side of things. And also like, okay, yes, it's helpful, but that's a little bit of a slippery slope. And I know me, and I know that I could turn something good into something bad pretty quick. So I'm going to pump the brakes there. So
Yeah.
that's why, but I'm at you where you're at too, Jess, of like, I eat the same shit every day. Like I'm the most
I love it.
boring and like, I love it. And I know, okay, 2 scoops of protein for this one, the Jocko brand, I got 50 grams, about 260 calories. And then I'm going to have a cup and a half of oats. And then it's just like, hey, It's fun, you know?
Yeah, it's easy, man. I went,
Yeah.
I go down in the kitchen sometimes, and it's like I'll just like pick off some of like my kids' leftover stuff, like a nugget on
Oh
the way
yeah.
to the fridge. But like, dude, I mean, I'm like I don't know what to call, it, but I went last night for dinner. I went down and I opened up the fridge, and I'm just thinking macros. I'm like, I need some protein, I need a vegetable, and I need a carb. What am I gonna do? Bro, I grabbed like there was like salmon in the fridge, and I texted Meg. I was like, how old is this salmon? She's like, a week. And I'm like,
A
good
couple
for me.
months, it's
I'll
fine.
take it. I'll hold my nose. I don't care. But I think underneath like a serious note here, it's like I think when you get to a place where you're eating intuitively and you're thinking more like, hey, this is fuel, not
Yeah.
like to indulge on. I think it makes life so much easier when you don't have
Oh
that
yeah.
relationship with food. I look at it like I just don't want to be hungry. And it's great to
Yeah.
break bread with friends. And it's great like occasionally to have like food be the centerpiece of like a social event, like you're having
For
friends
sure.
over and stuff. But I think it's healthy and I would stand by this. Like to kind of like sever that relationship with food where it needs to be this like decadent enjoyment. I think it should just be like, what do I need for
Yeah.
me, for my
What's this
goals?
fuel?
Yeah, yeah, that's my take on it. Hey, how many calories were you eating a day when you were 245 or whatever you were?
4,500.
How many?
4,500.
Bro, that's a part-time job. Just doing that.
It's, dude, the level of hunger was unreal.
I bet. What are you eating now at 218? What's your daily?
About 3,000.
Wow, dude. Percentage-wise, that's a huge drop. Isn't that easier?
It's a lot easier.
Um, all right. So next one, just staying in the nutrition lens here. I've only got two more, and then we're gonna do some lightning round here. Fact or fiction? Intermittent fasting guarantees fat loss.
Um,
Guarantees is the key word for that.
no, no,
That was a hint.
no, no. Because where my head went is if they're doing it correctly,
Hmm.
then yes, but there's no way in hell if you're intermittent fasting and you're not eating for 20 hours out of the day that you're not going to overindulge in some of those shorter windows.
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, that's fiction.
Fiction.
I'm gonna say fiction too. This one's
Yeah.
gonna be quick and easy, man. Like, sure, you can have a 12-hour fed window, and for people listening, you have a fed and a fast window. Fed is you're eating, fast as you're not. You can have a 12-hour, fed window and just fill it with like 4,000 calories and trash, and of course, you're not gonna lose fat.
Yeah.
However, as an aside, just like I mentioned, I think HIIT is a great, effective tool. I think
So is
intermittent
IF.
fasting is a great tool. And I say that because I think it's just a trick and a hack to help you regulate your overall calories.
Oh yeah.
If you hit like so for me, when I'm intermittent fasting, which is right now, because it's a tool I'm using for fat loss, if I set a goal, and assuming I'm disciplined around it, that I'm done, my last calorie, liquid or otherwise, is at 5 o'clock. That is going to help me, assuming I stick to it. And there's different hacks you can. I know tea is really helpful
Mhm.
with appetite. Even nicotine can be helpful with that. We won't go there. Not smoking, obviously, anyone listening,
Yeah.
but like pouches and stuff. But
Newport 100s.
assuming you're disciplined around that, you're going to avoid having those final calories that could drop
Yeah.
you into your deficit that you need for the day. So I just think it's a really good kind of like hack to help you contain the calories, which is the goal, as you mentioned. And there's also some anti-inflammatory components of intermittent fasting. It's healthy for you to do that, whether you do it daily or occasionally do like a big 24-hour fast. Never done it. But there's different, back to the lifespan and longevity, there's a lot of amazing things happening internally when you fast and you give your body the time from like a molecular and cellular place to clear out some of that inflammation and some of that bad stuff going on. So I'm going to go fiction. It doesn't guarantee anything, but I would recommend people try some version of it and kind of ease
Yeah.
into it like anything else.
Test it.
Test it out. All right. Last one. I'm going to have fun with this one. Fact or fiction? Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. Fact or fiction? Cold plunges are essential for recovery, fat loss, and muscle gain. Fiction.
Yeah.
Fiction. Man, we talk about fads, right? I'll start with it. I'm not going to sit here and say there's no benefits to it. I think grit and mental resilience are like try this, anyone listening, or you, Justin, if you haven't. Jump into a cold shower and see how you feel. If you can't even like go under cold water for like
Oh yeah.
30 seconds without turning into a small child. Like you need to work on mental resilience. Like
Yeah.
you're not
And
tough.
breath work.
Yeah, breath work. You're just not tough. So I think there's something to cold plunges from that
Yeah.
standpoint. I also think there's recovery components to it. There, I know that there's studies that say that it does help with hormones, testosterone in
Okay.
particular, assuming you don't do it right after you work out. You have to
Uh,
space it out, right? So there are benefits to it. But Justin, I swear to God, if I see another like moderately fit person on Instagram, like jumping out of some cold plunge with some heroic music and caption,
oh
I'm gonna throw up in my mouth. It's such a fad right now.
yeah.
I think it will stick, but I think it will cool off and it'll be
Yeah.
used by people that are like kind of really focused. But do not, people, do not go out and buy a $3,000 tub of water and think that it's like a necessary component for you to be fit and healthy. So I'm gonna say fiction all day on that one.
I think Jesse thinks that's fiction. All right.
Ask me how I
No,
feel.
so dude, I was one of the people who jumped all over this when it first
Oh,
blew
I'm
up a
sorry. What a
couple of
loser.
years ago. No, it was
I'm just kidding. I'm
like
kidding.
3 years ago. I think Liz got me one of the, like the portable, like not Velcro, but like the fabric ones that like you can take anywhere, and it was a cold plunge thing. So
Yeah.
we each did it. We both did it daily for like a month straight, and then kind of fell off a little bit. The benefits, were they there? I think. I mean, the energy is hard to deny, and it's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, I agree. I've done it.
That being said, it sucks, dude. It's so cold. Like it's the torturing yourself for 5 minutes. But I will say, one of my best friends, Sean, once Liz got this from a couple years ago, we brought it to their house, and they all did it. To this day, he still plunges every single day, and he's got one of the chillers and all that stuff set up. But the reason why he's so into it is because it got him off of his migraine medicine.
Damn.
He was on trying to figure out all this stuff with his migraines, doing all this medicine, and it was like literally knocking him out for a day after he took the medicine. And then he started plunging, and he was like, wait a second, I haven't had a migraine in a while. And then if he doesn't plunge, he says he can feel it coming on and everything. So I definitely think it has its place, but it's not going to make you jacked. Like, I feel like you go on Instagram and you see trainers hopping out of cold plunges, and you're like, oh, that's all I got to do?
Yeah, right, right.
It's a little more than some ice cubes, bud.
So this friend of yours, he didn't change anything else about his life or lifestyle, and he points to cold exposure as his remedy for
It
migraines.
started with cold exposure, yeah. And then from there, he has made the gym now a huge priority in his life, and has totally like reshaped his entire body the last 8 months, I would say. But that was all after the cold plunge and stuff. So it was kind of cool to see the progression of him seeing like, oh,
Yeah, I like
this
it.
helps me physically and mentally. And then he started getting into, and now he's hooked, dude, and it's awesome. But
Would you recommend anyone try it, or would you say like, hey, do this later on? It sounds like your friend, that was like the gateway for him to get fit, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's I hate saying this as an answer, but I honestly do think it depends on the person. I'm sure it would be helpful in some capacity, but I don't think putting all of your eggs in that cold basket is going to be worth it. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I agree. And actually, truth be told, I'm getting one. I don't have one. I'll jump in a cold shower from time to time.
Yeah.
But like this idea that I need to wake up every morning at 5:30 and put on a bathing suit and go in my backyard and don't jump in a tank, it's just inconvenient. I don't feel like doing it. And I think there's some I think it was Huberman that was talking about this, but I think there's a sweet spot for how often you need to do it. I don't know if you know this. What is it, like a couple times a week?
Yeah, and it's supposed to be well before any sort of exercise,
Right.
because now you'll see studies come out that say cold plunging stunts muscle growth and prevents hypertrophy post workouts, or blah blah blah. But like, I don't know at what point we're splitting hairs here, and like, is it good or isn't it? You know, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, for sure. All right, so you seem a little more kind of high on cold plunging, even though frankly you don't do it anymore.
I don't. I'm a pussy, and I'm going to say fiction because it has its benefits, like everything does. But I don't think it is worth it being held at the top of the helm that some people hold.
I
it
agree.
at.
Just another tool, and it's an optional
Tool,
one.
man.
I think there's benefits to it, but just like anything, like counting calories, you can overdo that too and burn out, and then you're like you don't have it anymore. You don't do it, and it's sitting in your basement. Anyways. All right, man. Lightning round. All right. So we're going to give you some quick answers here to a couple additional fads, and then we'll wrap it up. All right. So, we'll do a rhythm here. You go first. I'll go second. So, question number 1: you can spot reduce fat in specific areas. Yes or no?
Nope.
Nope, absolutely not.
That'd be
Um,
cool if you could.
it would be cool. You buy one of those stupid apparatuses that you can just attach to your tummy, and it's supposed to
It's
do.
working.
Yeah, exactly. This one we might linger on this one. We'll see. But Ozempic is a viable option, and you should try it for fat loss.
No, I don't think it's a viable option, and I do not think you should try it unless you are taking it for the reasons that are mentioned on the label.
Heck yeah, agreed, 100%. I don't like the idea of taking medication to do something that you can do on your
Exactly. It's
own.
an easy way out.
Yep. And also, what Ozempic is doing, there are natural ways that you can do the same thing. Yerba mate is one of the ways that you could do
Yeah.
that. Yerba mate is triggering the same things internally that an Ozempic does. And I just don't like the idea of diving into a medication to do something. And
No,
also, it's blown up. And who the hell wants to be an early adopter with medication that could have long-term risks and side effects to
no
it?
one knows anything yet
Yeah,
about these long-term
exactly.
risks.
So, yeah, I'm going to say, yeah, no on that one. Next one. Lifting heavy weights will make you bulky.
Oh my gosh, so true. Psych, no, fiction. Girls, listen, it is not going to make you bulky.
Agreed. Lifting heavy weights too early without proper form will get you injured, which will mess up the adherence, which we talked about earlier. So I think there's a time and place for heavy, but it is not going to make you bulky. Next one. I'm interested to hear your answer on this one. Supplements are pivotal for fitness.
They're pivotal if you're not getting those nutrients and macros and micros in within food, I would say. But are they important? Yeah, absolutely. I got tons of supplements, but those are for days where I know, like, hey, I had to take 2 protein shakes today because I just wasn't home and I didn't have enough time to make food and get my protein in. Like anything else, it's another tool, but you shouldn't be getting all of your protein from protein shakes and assuming that you're doing well.
Agreed. Yeah. Give us top 3 supplements you think people should take for fitness goals.
Top 3 supplements. First one, creatine. I'm gonna have to say protein because I know no one's getting the total daily that they should be from food. So we got creatine, we got protein, and then I'm gonna go with a wild card here and omega-3s.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Say a little more about that.
I think the heart health benefits, the brain health benefits, the inflammation benefits of omega-3s are very overlooked because it's not a supplement that's going to make you jacked, but inside it's going to do a lot of things that you're not going to be able to see from the outside, but you'll probably be able to feel them.
Yeah. Longevity, lifespan. I agree. I'm going to say they are. I'm going to say they're pivotal for the reasons you mentioned. Like sometimes if you're on the go, busy life, you need to get some extra protein calories. It's really helpful to have a supplement, which protein is. I would have given the same 3, by the way, creatine, protein, omega-3s, hands down. And then I'll also say for a guy like me who has been very open about like stress management and the impact of stress that can have, there's mental health supplements that you can take with that. Like we're so attached to fitness physically when we talk about supplements, but like rhodiola, theanine, ashwagandha, magnesium. Yeah, there's some amazing, healthy, holistic mental health supplements that you can take that are going to help you kind of just stay happy and stay joyful and stay committed to your physical fitness routine. So
Exactly.
I would say they're pivotal. Can you get them from eating whole foods and a well-rounded diet? Yeah, you're getting a lot of micronutrients, you're getting macronutrients, but just to kind of layer over those things that you might be missing or those tools that might be helping you in areas where you're lacking, I think they're pivotal. So that's my answer.
Yep. And
then last one, this one's pseudo silly. More protein always equals more muscle.
No, that is fiction. Calories, a calorie is a calorie, and excess is excess is excess.
I agree. I agree completely, man. This was awesome. It really was. I think just kind of laying out and just helping people kind of sift through all the noise out there in the fitness space is important. So this is awesome, Justin.
Agree, man. There's a lot of noise out there.
A lot of noise. All right, man. See you next time.